5 weeks into the season, San Francisco seemed like the clear Super Bowl favorite. But now, after 3 short weeks, the narrative is all changing. San Francisco sits 5-3, and many people are hyper-focused on Brock Purdy and labeling him as the clear problem and basically just ripping him apart. But is this what the tape really shows? Does it show Brock Purdy just being abysmal out there? I think this is our opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the Cincinnati game and see where Brock Purdy struggled, but also where he excelled. To start this game, Kyle Shanahan attempted to bully Cincinnati, running it 3 times to begin his opening drive, but that ultimately led to 3 and out. Then San Francisco's defense gave up 7 points. So now we can get into when Purdy started working. When examining Purdy's first throw of the day and San Francisco's first down, the first thing that comes to mind is how great Purdy is at avoiding pressure within the pocket. When examining this play, there's instantaneous pressure seemingly from 98 up the middle, but Purdy is able to step up and find his back open in the flat. Later in the same drive, Purdy is facing another challenging situation, 3rd and long. But here what I love about Purdy is he's able to do it in a couple of different ways. Here, he picks up with his feet. And what I noticed here is Purdy is continually keeping his eyes down the field. When he steps up, and this time, he's going to first read the defense. And then steps up again, resets his feet, and then finally takes off. This really just shows a quarterback truly trying to attack the defense. Once again, when you're looking at the coverage on this play, everyone is pretty locked down, so Purdy's decision to just take it and run is a wise one, and he does pick up the first. Examining the very next play from Brock Purdy, we see him once again elevating his team's play. We can see him complete this monstrous pass to Brandon Ayuk while running out of the pocket. While this is probably Brock Purdy's best play of the day, I think it really shows just the type of player he is. Right here, we'll see the instantaneous pressure from 96. No one even blocked him. Nonetheless, Purdy's able to remain calm and keeps his eyes down the field and connects deep with Brandon Ayuk. This dispels 2 rumors: Brock Purdy not being athletic enough and him not having a strong enough arm. Now, let's talk about something Purdy does well and everyone agrees he does well, and that's dissect what defense is doing. We'll see Jauan Jennings coming across. Right now, Purdy understands they're in zone. No one followed Jauan Jennings. So now he understands George Kittle and hits the open man in the zone coverage. This seems like a simple play for a lot of quarterbacks, but we see oftentimes young quarterbacks not being able to read zone defenses. But Brock Purdy isn't like most young quarterbacks. But we also need to give credit to Christian McCaffrey, who continued his touchdown streak with this run. But now we need to talk about something a little bit less fun, and that's complimentary football. San Francisco hasn't been playing it. Here, after Brock Purdy had one of his best drives of the day, San Francisco's defense just gives up another touchdown. And even on this play, there's 2 players that got penalties, Javon Kinlaw and Charvarius Ward. While the defense struggled to give Purdy much help, his offensive line the very next drive didn't help too much. You can see here, Purdy's forced to step up in the pocket. Now, here the decision is either run or dump off to Elijah Mitchell. I don't necessarily hate Purdy's decision to run. Once again, when we look at these wide receivers, they're all covered. He could have dumped it off to Mitchell, but he does get down and doesn't result in an injury. I like this play from Purdy. Now when we watch this very next play, we can see Elijah Mitchell just gets stuffed in the backfield. And this does a couple of things. Puts San Francisco in a 3rd and long, and also kills all the momentum Brock Purdy just got from that previous play. Now we can see Brock Purdy trying to force this over the middle. This was just a bad decision. Purdy could have possibly gone to another wide receiver. Specifically, if Purdy was to have this ball back, I think he would target Jauan Jennings on the bottom of the screen. But I don't put this all on Purdy. You have to think about everything that went into Purdy being put in this position. Purdy picks up a huge gain, and then his running back gets stuffed, and he's faced with another 3rd and long. This is something San Francisco has done consistently over these last few weeks, put themselves in bad positions. This would continue on Purdy's next drive, but here I love to watch Purdy work in the pocket. He has the defender barreling down right on him. But what does he do? He doesn't just take the easy dump off, he's looking deep and connects deep with Brandon Ayuk. Purdy throughout this game was a big reason why San Francisco was even in it. He was making these huge plays over and over again when you watch the film. And even on this play where it wasn't really designed to even go to Purdy, but either be handed off to CMC or given to George Kittle, Purdy's able to pick up a first because his athleticism's underrated. But we need to talk about this being a team game. Everything can't be all on Purdy. We put ourselves in a bad position here by holding on to a player, and this results in San Francisco facing 2nd and long. Purdy can just dump it off to CMC and fight to live another day basically. Instead of getting 7 points here, we're left with just a simple field goal. Going into this next drive for Brock Purdy, he has 31 seconds remaining on the clock. And here we can see him connect beautifully with George Kittle deep. What I love most about this play is yes, Brock Purdy makes an excellent decision going to George Kittle. But if you watch this throw, it might even be a better throw. There's 3 defenders somewhat close to George Kittle, but this ball was placed perfectly. You really can have walked the ball better to George Kittle and placed it in his hands. On this next play, once again, we see Brock Purdy delivering when it comes crunch time. He finds Brandon Ayuk coming across the middle, but Ayuk doesn't deliver on his side of the things. This is what I'm talking about when I say complementary football. You can't put it all on Brock Purdy if your wide receiver is having the ball bounce off his face mask. And this is coming from someone who is a total Brandon Ayuk fan, but you can't be doing this when you have a 2nd-year quarterback in. So you really have to rely now on Christian McCaffrey to get it up to the 45, and the play clock expires. This really leads me to the question, what could have been on this drive? Brock Purdy could have feasibly continued this drive and got at least 3 points. These are all just points left on the field, and while it's easy to say it's all on Brock Purdy, the film is telling a totally different story. Purdy going into the second half on his first drive, he was faced with 2nd and 18 after another penalty. But nonetheless, he was able to connect deep with George Kittle. He gets his team out of bad situations time and time again. But on this play, we can see miscommunication between Brandon Ayuk and Purdy. And while I can continue to point out plays where Purdy really puts his team in good position, now we need to focus on the plays that Purdy really did struggle with. Starting out with his first interception on the day. Here, we can see Purdy has the option to either hand off or pass this ball to George Kittle. It looks like he predetermined to try to go to George Kittle and then try to throw to Elijah Mitchell after the play. First of all, this would have been a penalty either way, so next time Purdy just needs to hand off or keep it and take the sack. You can't be forcing it in these scenarios. Purdy's next interception came on his very next pass. We can see Purdy here tries to fit it over the middle, but he just doesn't see the linebacker and therefore it gets picked off. So while Brock Purdy definitely had his negatives and positives in this game, to call him the clear problem is definitely not the case. In my opinion, he was a big reason why San Francisco was even able to compete with Cincinnati. He was making high-level throws throughout the game, and while he did have a couple of interceptions, I do think he's a young quarterback that will continue to improve. But these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on Brock Purdy and, well, just this game in general. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribed. And as always, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.